just want my daughter back.
What's going on there, YouTube land and also social media lands? Welcome to an all new video. In this video, we're doing a movie review of a new film that came out a couple weeks ago and is a retake of a great classic from the 1930s. So we're going to get right into that. But before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this video, any other videos I put up. As always, people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms, such as X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon. Pretty much posting these regularly, so definitely check them out. As always, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all new video. So like I was saying before, we're doing a movie review of a new film that came out a couple weeks ago and is a kind of retelling, reimaging of a classic 1930s horror film called Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Yeah! Lee Cronin's The Mummy. Yeah! So, this mummy film, which is called Lee Cronin's The Mummy, has absolutely nothing to do with the Brendan Fraser films. So, if you were going into seeing this and you thinking it was going to be a part of that, no. If you thought this was going to be a retelling or a reboot of the original classic with Boris Karloff, no. This film is completely different than any of those mummy films you've seen in the past. I mean, any of them, you know, going up to ones from the 70s and so forth. This film is definitely its own thing. And if you're a big fan of like films like Evil Dead Rises or films that are like in that genre that came out in the last like 20 years, you know, Evil Dead reboot in 2013 or films like that, Long Legs, etc., this is a film for you. This film definitely went all the way with bringing that horror element to the actual mummy. Now, the coincidences of it being called The Mummy really weren't up to Lee Cronin. Lee Cronin actually didn't want it to be called The Mummy just because it really wasn't a mummy film. And I could totally see that after seeing this film. Now, this film is definitely good. It's a decent film. I thought it was really interesting. I just wish the title of The Mummy was not associated with this film. But overall, I think the film was really good. But it did get to a point where I felt like there was a section that just wasn't really, I thought made the film not as good as it could have been, but then it redeemed itself by the end. But overall, I really enjoyed this film. I thought that the, you know, technical aspects, the acting, the writing was really well done. I thought the directing of the film was done really well. And I thought this film was just a really well orchestrated film that really played out very well. And I think that the direction it was taken in was just really interesting too, because it almost felt like a kind of like a mystery thriller film, horror aspect type of film. Whereas there was horror elements to it, horror kind of creatures, horror type of things. But overall, the film itself was kind of like a murder mystery type of deal, or a kidnapping mystery, or a you know, a missing persons mystery type of film. And I loved that. I thought that was really fun, really awesome, really well done. And I was actually kind of blown away by this film, except for that one section I didn't really care for. But overall, I liked everything about the film because I thought it was a very fresh take on something different that just happens to be associated with the name of The Mummy. So this film is directed none other by a gentleman that goes by the name of Mr. Lee Cronin! Oh yeah, Lee Cronin! Woo! Lee Cronin, yeah! So Lee Cronin, he has directed a few things over the years, has become kind of a big name over the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years, and is, you know, proven himself to be a decent director. And from what I've seen of his stuff, you know, I wasn't too impressed with what he had put out prior to this film. But overall, with this film, I was actually really impressed with what he brought together. And I really actually enjoyed it. I thought he did a lot of great things with the film. Like I said, I love the direction that he took the film in. I like the element that he kept it like kind of like a murder mystery type of film. I like that he added the horror elements to it that helped kind of accentuate the film's murder mystery aspect. Plus also I just really enjoyed the flow of how he brought the film too, because I didn't feel like it really lagged anywhere, but I did feel that there was a section that I wish he had chosen to do a little more sporadically throughout the film versus making it all in one giant spot. And I understand that that was kind of, you know, his type of deal, because he's mentioned in different interviews that he is a big fan of just really gory scenes. And I think that gore is great. I have no problem with it. I like it in films. But overall, I really enjoy it when it's more spread out throughout the films. Kind of like the Saw films, or, films that are that type of, adjacent type of films. And... But what I think that Lee did great with the film, like I said, is he just made it a really great whole type of film. And I like that it isn't actually a remake or a reboot of the original Mummy films, or any of the Mummy films that have come out in the past 30, 40, hundreds of years almost. And I think that he did a great job of giving us this very interesting take on that just happens to involve a being having to be wrapped up like a mummy and entombed like a mummy that has to be taken care of. And I think that was a really great aspect, a really great thought process and idea, and I think he played that out very well. I thought his writing was really good in the film. I thought it was really well, written out, played out by the actors and actresses that were involved with the film. And I really enjoyed just everything he brought to the film and gave it some really great kind of flavor that really made the film very interesting, very entertaining, and just a really enjoyable film overall, and not to be related to anything that actually is a Mummy film. Now, if you haven't seen anything that Lee Cronin has directed, definitely a film to check out to see for yourself what you think of his directing. It's a film that came out a couple years ago called The Evil Dead Rise. Yeah! The Evil Dead Rise. Yeah! So I'm not a huge fan of this film. I actually thought it was really crappy. I thought it could have been so much better. And I thought it just could have been a way better, kind of adjacent sequel to the, remake in 2013. And I just thought that it failed at all levels. I thought that it was just too much of a, buzzkill of kind of what they brought to it, the writing and everything. And I just didn't think it plays out as well as the 2013 remake or the original films that it's based off of. And I just think that they could have done more with it, and I don't think that, Lee did the best job with that film. He had some great action sequences, he had some great scares and everything, but overall I don't think his real directing talent really shined through that, in that, versus how it shined through in The Mummy. And I think that, overall, I know a lot of people love that film. They thought it was really great. I just didn't particularly thought it was a great film, and I didn't enjoy it. But I do recommend checking it out at least, to see what else Lee has done as a director, and you can see kind of how he's changed and moved from that film to this film. And I just think that he overall did a great job bringing to life the thought process, but didn't execute it as well as he could have. If you haven't seen anything Lee Cronin has directed, definitely check out The Evil Dead Rise. See for yourself, what do you think of his directing of that film? But overall, I really enjoyed what he did with Lee Cronin's The Mummy. I thought it was a really fantastic film. I thought he directed the crap out of it and gave us a really fantastic film. Like I said, just that one little small part of the film I thought was just not the best part and didn't add anything to the film. But other than that, I think he did a really phenomenal job with the rest of the film and giving us this really great film that I think will go down and become a really great horror film, and something that people will talk about 30 years from now. If you haven't seen anything Lee Cronin has directed, check out Lee Cronin's The Mummy in theaters. He did a really good job. So this movie, it has a very small cast. Only one of them I really have seen in anything else. The other actresses throughout the film, all of them pretty much have done other things, but for the most part, I have not seen anything else they have been in, unfortunately. Majority of the people, too, don't have much of a filmography. This is kind of like their first film, but they've done other little things, supposedly, like, plays and theaters and stuff like that. But majority of the actors and actresses that were in this film were actually pretty new to the industry and just kind of becoming known by being in this film. And, I think that majority of the people that were in this film, like I said, they all did a really great job of portraying their characters. They all fantastically did it. They all did a really great job, really knocked out of the park. I think did a really fabulous job, and I think they all kicked butt and just gave us some really great performances that made the film very entertaining. Now, to start us off is none other than kind of the main hero of the film, kind of the dad of the girl that goes missing, Mr. Jack Raynor! Oh yeah! Jack Raynor! Woo! Jack Raynor! Yeah! So Jack Raynor, you might recognize from a few things over the years. He's become pretty popular over the last decade or so, and has done quite a few things. He's a really decent actor. I really enjoy him in anything I usually have seen him in, and I think he always does a really great job. And I think that he really plays it to his strengths and really knocks it out of the park. Gives us these really great performances that rock it. So if you haven't seen anything Jack Reynor has been in, a great film to check out of his that I absolutely enjoyed and just thought was a really great sequel film and just a really great film that he was in. It's a great film that came out in 2014 called Transformers: Age of Extinction. Yeah! Transformers: Age of Extinction. Yeah! So this film, which is the fourth film in the Transformer franchise, and also the first one to feature Mark Wahlberg, Jack Reynor plays, of course, Mark Wahlberg's daughter's boyfriend in the film, and he is absolutely awesome in it. I absolutely loved him. I thought he was really great. I thought he was really fun. I thought he was action-packed. I thought his driving sequences in the film were done really well. And I just think overall he was a very entertaining and fun character. And I just really enjoyed what he brought to his characterization and gave us this really fantastically well-thought-out character that I thought blended in very well to the environment and gave us a really great additional person in that film that was fun to watch and a great part of the cast. I mean, not only do you have Stanley Tucci in that film, Mark Wahlberg, of course, I thought Jack Reynor was just a really great accompaniment to them, because they're just fantastic actors anyways, and they all worked so well together. And I think Jack just really popped out in that film, and I think really, put a lasting impression on his acting for me. If you haven't seen anything Jack Reynor has been in, definitely check out Transformers: Age of Extinction. He did a really phenomenal job in that. But overall, I thought he was phenomenal in The Mummy, and I thought he did a really great job playing that fatherly figure, playing that character that's trying to piece together what happened to his daughter and all this kind of stuff. And I just think that overall it was just a really fantastic, acting job by him, and he just really put it into great aspect and gave us this really great performance that just was really enjoyable. If you haven't seen Jack Reynor or anything, definitely check him out in Lee Cronin's The Mummy. He did a really phenomenal job. So like I was saying before, this movie has a very small cast, and majority of the rest of the people that were a part of the film, I really don't know much about. I haven't really seen them in much of anything. But I have seen one of them in another project, which is, of course, the gal that plays the police detective, Miss May Calloway. She was actually in the TV show Moon Knight, which I was really surprised. I forgot that she was in it. But when I did some research and I found out that she had been in that show, I was like, oh, I have seen this gal. And I thought that she did a pretty decent job as that police detective. I thought she was really interesting, really fun. She played the character very well. But overall, I don't think that she was anything super great about the film. But overall, I think that she still did a good enough part that was really interesting and entertaining and a great addition to that cast. Now, of course, the other people that were in the film were, of course, the actress that played the wife of Jack Reynor and the mother-in-law of Jack Reynor, who are played by Leah Costa, who you might recognize from a few things. I have actually not seen her in anything else, but I do think that she did an overall okay job in the film. She did get annoying at some parts of the film, but pretty much overall I think that she did a decent job playing that mother character, playing that character dealing with the loss of a child and so forth and stuff like that. And then of course we have the gal that played the mother-in-law, Miss Veronica Fallon, who plays the mother-in-law, who did a decent job as the mother-in-law. I thought that overall she did a pretty decent job. I mean, she had some really crazy scenes that she had to go through and stuff like that I thought she did a really good job with. And overall, I think that she was a decent addition to that cast. The girl that plays the daughter, the older version and younger version of the daughter that gets kidnapped in the film, I thought they did a really fantastic job portraying that character of Katie. And I think that, definitely that girl that plays the 17-year-old version of Katie, she had a lot of great, interesting physicality things she had to do as the character, and I think that she did overall a decent job portraying that as well. Of course, the boys that played Seb or Sebastian, the brother, I thought did a really good job too. And then, of course, the little girl that portrays the youngest sibling, I thought did an overall decent job too. And all of them have some really crazy scenes that they had to do that really were just out there, bizarro world, and these, of course, scenes happen in between that section that I was telling you about that I thought was just really unnecessary to give it that horror element, or they could have spread it out throughout the film without it all being condensed into one section. But overall, I think everyone in this film did a decent job and just really brought the film to life and gave us some really great performances that I think made the film very entertaining and enjoyable. If you haven't seen any of these actresses or actors that in this film, definitely check them out. Check out their filmographies. I think they all did a really decent job. So what is Lee Cronin's The Mummy about? Basically, the premise of the story is this girl gets kidnapped when she's like 8 years old, named Katie, outside of her house over in the Middle East. And she gets taken by this mother of this little girl she knows. And basically, the movie ends up, you know, them trying to find her after she's kidnapped. They don't find her. 8 years goes by. All of a sudden, she pops back up inside of a coffin and gets brought home. And then all these kind of crazy things start happening, and it's up to basically them to figure out what happened to Katie and kind of why all this crazy supernatural stuff is going on. And you end up finding out all this crazy stuff about a demon and all this kind of stuff that's being kept inside people's bodies to keep it from taking over the world. So, The Mummy by Lee Cronin was actually a pretty damn decent movie. I really enjoyed it. Thought it was really fun. Like I said before, there was just that one small segment that I really didn't care for. But other than that, I thought the film was a very fun film, really enjoyable, and just all around a really well done film. If you haven't seen Lee Cronin's The Mummy yet, I highly recommend you go check it out. I give this one 8 golden movie boxes up out of 10. I thought, like I said, it was really great, except for that one little section. Other than that, I will end up adding this to the collection because it was a really solid film. And overall, I think that it's definitely a movie worth the watch. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out in theaters now. See for yourself. What do you think? Do you think it's a good movie? So that's it for this movie review, guys. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, also thank you for subscribing. If this is your first time here, or you have been here before, don't forget to check out any of our new videos, man. Haven't seen mine yet. As always, huge shout out to my subscribers, new and old. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. But if you really want to help the channel out, please think about checking out my Patreon page, where once you become a member, you get all the added cool accoutrement you don't get here on my YouTube channel, such as outtakes, bloopers, and all that kind of cool stuff. Plus, also, every month you're a subscriber, every month I will do a personal review just for you. So definitely think about it. Check out seeing about helping this channel out. As always, catch you in the next one.